This is the Rebel Author Podcast, where we talk about books, business, and occasionally bad words. Hello, Rebels, and welcome to episode 278 of the Rebel Author Podcast. Today, I'm talking to Melissa McTernan, also known as Laurie Gilmore, all about how she has taken the world by storm with cozy small town romance. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's the Pumpkin Spice Cafe books and author. To some comments on Erin Wright's episode, Kerry Hardisky said, "Love this episode. I am slowly building how wide my books are. By just uploading to Ingram was the smartest decision ever, because then I could reach out to indie stores and even worked with Barnes & Noble's local authors program. I had a signing event with them last summer and want to plan another when my second novella is out this fall." Matt said, "A slight tangent from your wide discussion. For your super special, delectable, schmexy Kickstarter editions, do you need or do you choose to use ISBNs on them?" Oh, that's a great question. Okay, so for the Kickstarter books themselves, so those special editions, I don't put an ISBN on them. With the printers who print them, they assign like a SKU or some kind of identifier, which they'll, call an ISBN, but isn't necessarily a strict registered ISBN. Now, when I sell the special editions on my website, they will have to have an ISBN. I won't be selling them anywhere else. I don't think they will just be on my website. But because of that, I will want to be able to catalogue and register them. And that ISBN will then act as a SKU. So like an identifier for the shop. So yeah, I will be using ISBNs, but only kind of internally to my, I guess, web shop. So you won't necessarily need an ISBN unless you plan on selling them on other stores. And then you would need an ISBN. Okay, so in personal news and updates then, whoa, it has been a week. It is Wednesday, the 15th of January, as I record this. We are 4 days out from the TikTok ban or not ban in America. We still don't know. I don't think we will know until Monday. I think it is going to be a whirlwind of a few days. I had to laugh because look, I'm not going to get political here, but the whole purpose of the ban was to supposedly protect security and data. And yet droves and droves of Americans went and downloaded RedNote, which is the Chinese version of TikTok. And they have willingly given their data to a Chinese-owned app. The irony of that is not lost on me. I did also download RedNote just to see what it was about because FOMO, and also I wasn't going to be left behind this time. I wasn't going to join TikTok late, RedNote late. I am going to move with the times this time. Anyway, so I found that whole debacle in the last sort of 24 hours, 36 hours very interesting. I have started to see comments in the news that perhaps the ban isn't going to happen. I know I will get the word wrong, a senator, I want to say. Maybe it wasn't a senator. I don't know the political terms. But one of the government people was trying to introduce and extend the deadline ban for 270 days. So I thought that was quite interesting. Look, whatever happens, and I don't know what's going to happen, I don't think it's going to look the same. I don't think this will just get swept under the carpet. I do think there's going to be a change. I don't know what that change is going to be. I don't know when that change will be, but change is inevitable. And I don't think in a year's time it will necessarily look the way that it did. Does that make me sad? Does it make me scared? Does it make me worried? Maybe. I, of course, have built a lot of my audience on TikTok. As a Brit, I will still be able to use TikTok. But if the Americans go from TikTok, then I lose access to a huge majority of my audience. One of the things that is being spoken about is that a lot of the Americans are boycotting Meta, which means even though I've got my Instagram working well for me now, that could see an effect and an impact as well. I don't know if that's rhetoric and people are just cross or if it's actually going to happen. I think that this is one of those times where we have to adapt and pivot on the fly and just see what happens. And I'm okay with that. I am confident enough that TikTok has taught me how to market, that no matter what happens, no matter what social media or platform or iteration of access to humans we have next, I will be able to use the skills that I have developed. So I'm not that worried. I also know that I have spent the last year trying to build up my Shopify. And, I've got a lot of friends doing TikTok Shop in the UK, and that is really doing very well for them, which is one of the things that I'm working on. So TikTok Shop and my Shopify. TikTok Shop is, I am in the process of loading up all my books to TikTok Shop, and I will be, and basically that will geolocate one account into the UK. So that those sales will only go to UK, and I'm excited to see how that goes. So that's one of the things I've been working on this week. The other thing that I have been working on is Ruby Row HQ. Very, very exciting. I am in the process of signing a lease contract for 12 months. It's quite low level. It's not too expensive, which is why it felt like a reasonable risk. I am going to be doing a offset print run, and I am going to be doing fulfillment for my TikTok Shop and my Shopify. Now, whether or not I do the fulfillment, I think it's probably unlikely that, I think the first month I will probably have to do it. And then once everything's set and in place and I have got processes and systems and stock taking processes and stuff in place, then I will look to recruit somebody to do that for me. I want to know how to do it first so that I can be the person to teach, whoever comes on into the team. But I'm very, very excited. I've never had an office. I've never had a place that isn't, a cafe or the gym or my, home. So this is very, very exciting for me. I'm looking forward to setting up and getting everything in place. I'm also shitting a brick, quite frankly. This feels fucking terrifying. This feels like the next step. All of the what ifs, what if it doesn't work? It's the same what ifs before you launch a book that I feel like I'm experiencing now. Like, what if it fails? What if it doesn't work? What if I can't sell any books? What if, the ban comes in and then I can't reach anybody, and on and on and on. But then I'm also like, what if it succeeds? What if I grow out of the place? What if I can't keep up? What if I need somebody to help immediately? All of these things. And excitingly, now this decision has been taken and I have taken that off my brain. Finally, I'm able to outline. I actually have outline on the page. It is not finished. It is not enough for me to start writing yet, but it's flowing again. And that is giving me so much joy and excitement. I am really, really pleased. I don't know how much longer it's going to take me to outline. I'm also trying to outline this surprise secret project. I think what's going to happen is I'm going to finish outlining architecting, then I'm going to put it down for a little while, and then I'm going to go and work on this secret project. And then I'm hoping that won't take too long to write. And then I'll go back to architecting. Just because there is some time pressure associated with this secret project. So yeah. I don't know. I am so excited for all the things. I'm also acutely aware that I'm still only one person, and I am struggling to do all of the things by not by myself anymore, because obviously I've got a team, but it is astonishing how good I am at adding more onto my plate when I'm trying to take shit off. I am truly spectacular at that skill. Anyway, I also joined a different gym, and this is entirely not relevant to books or writing or anything, but I'm very excited by it. It's much more of a community-based gym. They have a lovely cafe where they do have people working in there and stuff. So I'm hoping that I will make some in-person friends, maybe. Please. Then last but by no means least, this time next Wednesday, I am hoping that it is Kickstarter Fulfillment Day. Fingers crossed. So the books are almost done printing and binding and the jackets and the foiling and things. So I'm hoping that Monday, Tuesday next week I will be signing, and then Wednesday will be the packing day. There has been a couple of issues with some of the prints, so I just need to wait and see if they're going to be ready for Monday. Fingers crossed. Yes, we will see. Fingers crossed. But hopefully this time next week, the Vampire Kickstarter will be done and dusted. Last thing that I wanted to tell you about is a new Kickstarter from Ines Johnson. So this is Page Turner Pacing, and I have backed it. I'm extremely excited. I love Ines. She is fantastic. I have sat in many of her sessions at 20 Books Vegas, but also I have taken some of her courses as well. I took her Shopify course and I just adore her. I think she's amazing. And so she has a Kickstarter at the moment for her Learn to Write a Binge-Worthy Novel. Ines's background is TV writing, and she used to screenwrite for TV. So she's very, very good at hooks and episodic kind of writing and keeping readers hooked to the page. And so she has a lot of, theoretical kind of knowledge, which she is excellent and so engaging at teaching us. So I am going to share the link to her Kickstarter in the show notes, and I think you should go check it out. Look, you don't have to, but I have backed it because I love her and I love her work and I'm really excited to read her book. So yeah, go check it out. Of the week this week is Anthony J. At the end of this month, my husband and I will celebrate our 10-year wedding anniversary. While this might not seem like a groundbreaking rebel story to some, this anniversary is a serious testament to two humans giving a big middle finger to their inner and outer saboteurs. So in 2013, I was a naive boy out of my undergraduate receiving my BA in acting. I moved to New York with very few dollars but a big dream. So on my first night, what else am I going to do than download a dating app for the first time? I was quite the dish back then, and messages from prospective men seemed endless. One person, however, stuck out to me the most. We chatted back and forth, and eventually he invited me to his apartment for the 2013 version of Netflix and Chill. And the scared boy that was in the new Big Apple turned him down. Oh no! Fast forward through nearly 6 months of playing cat and mouse. My now husband gave me a final ultimatum: get with it or get lost. So I strapped on my big boy pants and finally decided to throw caution to the wind. Our first date is so vivid in my mind, even 12 years later. I was completely enamored with this incredibly handsome man, dressed like a Newsies chorus boy with his page boy hat. I don't know what that is, but okay. Sometimes I think that I fell in love with him at first sight. After a few hours of chatting in the park over a cup of coffee, he walked me to the subway station for work. I kissed him on the way into the station and said, if you're not doing anything later, I'd like to meet up. That young man picked me up after my work shift, came back to my apartment to cuddle and talk. It was unlike anything that I had ever experienced before. Spoiler alert, he basically never left. Oh my God, you did a lesbian U-Haul. I love it. A year and a half later, that young man and I would get married. Our loved ones were a bit sceptical at first, both of us getting the same side eye and questions from those that knew us best. We persisted anyway, and thank God we did. I won't say that everything has been easy. The two of us grew up together and had to make and learn from a lot of mistakes along the way. What I can say is that I would relive every hard moment over again to be here now with this man who I can confidently say is the love of my life. We've built a beautiful life together filled with abundance of love that I don't think either of us thought was possible. The rebel lesson is this: live life on your own terms. Ignore the constraints that others are apt to place on you. Lead with your heart, and beauty will undoubtedly follow. I'm in awe that every day life seems to get better. I'm lucky to have my incredibly supportive husband and 3 absolutely perfect fur daughters, a roof over our head, and food on our table. It may not be much to some, but this life is entirely ours. In the words of Sally Owens, I dream of a love that even time will lie down and be still for. And I do believe I found it. Aww, that's so cute, and happy anniversary to the pair of you. That is absolutely adorable. I bloody love that rebellion, mostly because I love love. I'm such a romantic at heart. Oh dear. Okay, if you would like to be a rebel of the week, please do send in your story. It can be any kind of rebellion, something big, something small, or something in between. If you would like to be a rebel, please email Becca over on rebelauthorpodcast@gmail.com. And thank you for sending the beautiful wedding picture as well. That is gorgeous. Welcome, and thank you so much to 3 new patrons this week. Senja Laxo, I hope I pronounced that correctly. I'm sorry if I didn't. Amber and Kelsey Ayabas. again with the pronunciation. Sorry, I do try my best with these things. A huge thank you to all of my existing patrons. If you would like to support the show and get early access to all of the episodes, as well as bonus goodies like our brand spanking new Poison and Parlay sessions once a month and our Slack community group, then you can from as little as $2 a month by visiting patreon.com/Sasha Black. Okay, that's it from me this week. Let's get on with the episode. Hello and welcome to the Rebel Author Podcast. Today I'm joined by Laurie Gilmore. Laurie is a #1 Sunday Times bestseller and a USA Today bestseller who writes steamy small-town romance. Her Dream Harbour series is filled with quirky townsfolk, cozy settings, and swoon-worthy romance. The first book in the series, The Pumpkin Spice Cafe, was featured on Good Morning America and was named the TikTok Shop Book of the Year 2024. She loves finding books with the perfect balance of sweetness and spice and strives for that in her own writing. If you ever wished you lived in Stars Hollow or that Luke and Lorelai would just get together already, then her books are definitely for you. Hello and welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
No, thank you for having me. You are a superstar. Your books are everywhere. Like everywhere I look, I see your books at the moment. So it's just absolutely amazing that you're here. So, I mean, what a hell of a journey you've had. Would you like to tell everyone, like, first of all, about, this kind of crazy journey you've been on? Where have you come from? How did you get to where you are today?
I'm still trying to figure it out. It's definitely been insane. I don't know. I've been writing for maybe 5 or 6 years. It started out as a hobby. I self-published a few things. I small pressed a few things. And then I signed with One More Chapter. They're an imprint of HarperCollins UK. They asked me to write this small town series and it blew up. And here I am. And it's still shocking to me and I'm still not used to it. And like just hearing you read that bio feels crazy. And yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts. But that's, I guess, the abbreviated version of how I got here.
No, I love it. So you started indie. Were they all small town kind of cozies as well? Or what did you start writing as an indie?
I started with a lot of fantasy, paranormal, which I still write under my real name, Melissa McTernan. But I was a little all over the map with it. I definitely learned that marketing, publicity, social media were all not super big skills of mine. So yeah, it was all very small scale. And then when I signed with Homer Chapter, they are also publishing my paranormal werewolf series. And then they asked if I was interested in writing a small town cozy series. And
so is that work for hire or you own kind of the copyright on it? Like, how does that?
I own the copyright on it, but I'm contracted to write the series
Okay,
for
that
them.
makes sense. Yeah. So do you still indie publish as well, or are you now solely doing trad stuff?
Yeah, right now, just all I have time for is the trad stuff. This Dream Harbor is like my first official small town series that I've written. It's what I like to read, so I was really excited when they asked me to do it. But yeah, it's my first one.
It's so funny how that happens. Like the thing that we really love ends up being, when we finally give ourselves permission to write it, it ends up being the thing that blows. Like I just feel like we insert a kind of joy that we don't insert into other stuff.
Oh my God, 100%. Like writing Pumpkin Spice Cafe, I was just like, it flowed out. Like it was probably the easiest thing that I've written. It didn't feel like the usual like struggle. And I just put in everything that anything I like in a book, anything I like that makes me giggle or swoon or whatever. I just put it all in there. And so the fact that like everyone or a lot of people seem to like it too is like so cool. Because I'm like, well, that's all stuff I like.
So let's talk about that. What do you think it is that's resonated with readers so strongly? Because I mean, TikTok shop book of the year is pretty fucking cool. Like,
Yeah.
that's pretty
Yeah.
amazing. Like, so obviously something is hitting and resonating a lot with readers. So what do you think it is about it? Obviously, you have done more than just that first book in the series, and they're all kind of collectively. So you are putting some kind of catnip in there.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things. I think I think the world is hard right now, and I think people are stressed and tired and possibly lonely. And so I think these books that are softer and gentle and have community in them and have maybe characters that people just feel like they want to hang out with. I think that's hitting people. I think people just want something soft when they get home from a hard day or after hearing any number of terrible things in the news that day or whatever it is. So I think that's a piece of it. I think, like I said, marketing was not my thing. So having a team of people knowing how to market is amazing. And I think these books have such a strong aesthetic and vibe that people are just really into. Um, you can't discredit the power of pumpkin spice that people see pumpkin spice and they want it.
Okay, but really
People,
important question though. Is your favorite
yes.
coffee a pumpkin spice latte? Because if it's not, like,
We'll just say it is.
okay, fine. I can't stand pumpkin spice latte. I tried and I was like, "Ugh, what is this?" But it's
I
because I don't
know,
even
I
have
know.
sugar in mine. So,
Oh, yeah, that's like a big step. I mean,
yeah.
honestly, I like a chai latte with
Okay.
like maybe a pumpkin muffin, we'll say.
Okay.
Like a pumpkin
We,
baked good.
yeah, okay, fine. I
Yeah.
like a pumpkin. And to be fair, and it's in the family, butternut squash is like my favorite vegetable, which,
Oh,
okay,
there you
so,
go. It's like
yeah.
adjacent.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I love this so much. Have you heard of Jennifer Lynn Barnes talking about writing for the id?
Oh, um, I don't know if I've heard her, but I've heard other people probably quoting her
Okay.
about like making your id list.
Yes. So you
Yes.
mentioned that you put
Yes.
all the things that you like into your book. So I wondered if you could tell me what are some of the things that you love, like that, because I do the same now. I pretty much just ignore the world and then just write all of the shit that I love into the book. But
Yes.
what does that
Mhm.
look like for you?
Yes. Well, people probably noticed by now, but I love a grumpy sunshine. I feel that someone should always be grumpy and someone should always be sunshiny. Like that's my favorite. Um, yeah, just those. I love good banter between the characters. I like teasing between the characters, that sort of thing.
I would love to pick your
There's
brain about Grumpy
yeah.
Sunshine.
Okay.
I love reading Grumpy Sunshine. And
Yes.
I don't feel like I can write Grumpy Sunshine. Like all my books, I write like enemies to lovers, like really
Mm-hmm.
spicy, really fast burn enemies to lovers. Like that is what I am good at. But I bloody love a Grumpy Sunshine. And I just don't think I can write a sunshine character because I am morally grey as a human, Like that is where, like, I'm the all black wearing, booted, that's who I am. So I'm like, how do you write sunshine characters? Like, so tell me about how you create that contrast because it's a character juxtaposition, right? So what goes into your characters to make them that depiction of both grumpy and sunshine?
Mm-hmm. I think the Sunshine character is just really enthusiastic about life and just whatever happens to be going on. Um, I will say in the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, so Jeannie is more the sunshine, but in her own like inner monologue, like she's not always buying it. Like I don't think she fully identifies as sunshine in her own mind. But compared to Logan, who is very gruff, very few words come out of his mouth. Then she kind of appears more sunshiny than maybe she is in her own head because she's often thinking she's maybe about to be murdered or things like that in her own head. So I feel like she's not always sunshiny up there, which is kind of like how I am, I think. But I present sunshiny.
But that
So
also gives like depth, right? Because not everybody is all
yeah,
one thing.
right. Yes, exactly.
I love that.
So yeah, I don't
Okay.
know.
So this series is represented by HarperCollins, and you have kind of mentioned a little bit about that and kind of the journey. I wondered if you could give me any lessons that you've kind of learnt from traditional publishing that maybe you didn't pick up in the indie part of your career, or like any kind of advice for newer writers that you've kind of learnt and picked up from trad.
hmm Definitely just from my path, I learned to just keep writing. Like even if something doesn't hit, keep like keep going. Do the next thing, do your next idea. Because the book I originally sent them, um, they didn't want. They sent me a very, very kind rejection letter. That they liked it, but it didn't fit well into like a set subgenre. They were like, we can't really market this. It's not strong enough in a subgenre. So, but they asked, do you have anything else? And I did because I had kept writing, even though that one that I had sent them had been rejected by several places, several times. So I had another thing, sent them that, and then that's the werewolf romance that they end up publishing. So I would just say, like, if you have that one thing that you've been querying or submitting, like make sure you're still writing other things. Always have something else like in your back pocket because you never know. They might like your writing, but it might not be the exact fit, and then it could open up to something else. Um, and then yeah, just the experience with traditional publishing has just shown me how much of a team goes into these books. When it was just me by myself or with these tiny presses and you're trying to, get your Facebook ad up and you're trying to do these newsletters and things like that, it didn't work for me by myself. So now it just feels really nice to have a team of people that know what they're doing behind me. Uh, yeah, I think some people really hit it with self-publishing, and that just wasn't my experience, but it's it's nice to have experts.
Okay, well, I feel like we are in a kind of dark romance era. Um, that said, cozy is also having this huge kind of because there's cozy romance, cozy fantasy. There's all these
Mhm.
different kind of small town cozy things, but we are also in the era of kind of dark romance. So, what drew you away from like that darker side of romance to writing like the cozier small town side of romance? And do you have any like craft tips for listeners about how to actually write a good cozy romance?
I don't read a lot of dark romance, so that's probably part of it. Even my werewolves, who I thought, okay, this is going to be my kind of foray into darker romance. I think the editing notes was that he was a morally gray golden retriever. So even when I was trying,
That's
which is
hilarious.
totally fair, like that is 100% what it ended up being, and I love it now. But at the time, yeah, I was like, okay, I guess I still didn't quite get to that dark place that some writers are awesome at. So yeah, it just doesn't come naturally, I guess. And also because I just don't read it a lot, so I'm not really in that like dark romance place. Um, so yeah, I don't know. As far as writing cozy romance, I think probably the trickiest part is finding the balance between like you want it to be sweet and cozy, but you don't want it to be overly saccharine where people are like, okay, this is just, I don't know, it's like too far. And also the balance between It's obviously not really plot heavy. There's not a ton of external conflict, not a ton of angst happening, which I think is what people want. They want low conflict, but you have to have something moving the story forward. There has to be a little bit of tension between the characters, a little bit of conflict. So finding that balance, I think, is hard. And I know I don't hit it for every reader. Some readers are like, this wasn't enough. And then some readers are like, but they misunderstood each other in, the third act and it made me sad or whatever. And I was like, something has to happen. But yeah, so just finding that balance, I think, is probably the trickiest part about writing cozy. You want it to be cozy, but still interesting, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah, absolutely. You mentioned Golden Retriever love interest there. I would love to kind of understand what makes a good Golden Retriever character, like as a love interest.
I think a golden retriever is a sunshiny character that wants to please you, wants to do things to make you happy. So my werewolf golden retriever ended up very, it started with touch her and die kind of energy and just kind of evolved into like, I will lay at your feet kind of energy. So,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Okay, so they want to. So you've mentioned two things there. You mentioned that the external presentation of the character is very enthusiastic, which I think is a great, like, because I hadn't picked up on the fact that what makes somebody sunshiny is the enthusiasm versus happy, right? They don't always
Yeah.
have to be happy because that's an internal thing. And then for the golden retriever, it's it would be the desire to do more for the other character. Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any other kind of romance tips or tricks, like pairing those kind of two together that you feel match cozy more than like any other kind of darker or maybe spicier? Like where does the line get drawn even with the spice in a cozy? Because I write like properly open door, explicit, or BDSM at some points, spice. So like
Yes.
what makes good spice in cozy?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think so when I first wrote the first one, I had actually got to see the cover before I wrote the book.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, which was very cool because then it really put me in the headspace of like, oh, okay, like this is what we're doing. So my first draft of that had open door sex scenes in it, but they definitely weren't my steamiest. Um, and I think there was only one. And my editor said, do more, put more in. People
Okay.
want more. So I was like, okay, great. Because I normally do write explicit sex scenes in all of my books. I've always done that. But I didn't know if I had to scale it back for this series. So it's kind of holding myself back a little bit. So I put more in. And then I think each book, 1 through 3 at least so far, have gotten steamier. So they do all have open door scenes that I think are pretty steamy. I mean, they are not BDSM, not quite there yet, but they're pretty steamy. And so far, it seems people are reacting positively to it. I didn't know if it would take people by surprise or if they would be upset, like that they weren't expecting that and then it was there. But it seems to be going okay. I think to me, when I'm reading a romance, it doesn't conflict for me, cozy and spicy. Like I feel like they go together. I'm writing a relationship, I'm writing people falling in love. So that's what happens. Like I feel like that is all natural. I think probably, the steamy scenes are sweeter. They say sweet things to each other. Like it's a sweeter moment than maybe straight up erotica or things like that. But like I don't know. I like to read steamy, and for me it just all makes sense in a romance. I like it. I like it there.
You have amazing world building. Like, I think any cozy world is like built to perfection. So,
Mhm.
do you have any tips for kind of like the building of your world? Like, how did you do it? How did you create such a like? I just you feel like you're there. So, how did you do that?
Ooh, I don't know. Um, I think I heard someone say once that basically like small town romance is you're writing fantasy. I mean, no small town is like this. I'm pretty sure. I don't know, but I don't think there's a small town that is like Stars Hollow or is like Dream Harbor, but you're creating the fantasy world for your readers to escape to. So I kind of keep that in mind. Obviously, there's, other fictional towns that I'm thinking about. Um, just thinking, what's that idyllic feeling of a small town? You need a main street, you need cute shops, you need nosy neighbors that are like well-meaning, nosy neighbors. Um, yeah, and then this series takes place. It's supposed to be New Englandy, so we lived in Boston for a while, and so I have some like North Shore towns that are kind of in the back of my mind when I describe places in the town. But
So,
yeah, it's building a fantasy world for sure,
uh, um,
just without dragons.
yeah. maybe. No.
Maybe.
A, a lot of so obviously the Gilmore Girls was a huge inspiration. Like I'm guessing the surname of the pen name was like is a nod to that. Um,
Yes.
how do you navigate creating a world that feels similar whilst also making it like distinctly your own? Because obviously there would be copyright issues if it was too similar. So how do you allow that inspiration to kind of feed in without letting it take over, I suppose?
hmm Um, well, if I'm being honest, I haven't rewatched Gilmore Girls in a while. So it's not too fresh in my mind, which I think is actually probably for the best. But I'm just taking the feeling of the town, just what I remember about it that was sweet and cozy. But I think really so much of it is, like I said, it's that general small town archetype that we all kind of have in our head, which of course Stars Hollow is a great example of. But yeah, so I'm trying to not, copy it too directly. It's just that general feeling of that small town. And yeah.
Okay, now I appreciate that some of this is going to be like the team around you.
hmm
But you do have a very clear brand. And the titles, the covers. How did the team kind of come up with that? Do you have any influence or kind of role in it? Like, what was the thinking behind the packaging? Because do you think that has impacted sales?
hmm Yes, I think hugely it has impacted sales and reader expectation and all that. And I feel like it's extra clear to me because I didn't have that before. My books were kind of all over the place. It wasn't like a clear message that readers were getting about what they were going to get from my books. So seeing the contrast with now, I would say for sure has a huge impact. Like I said, I got to see the first cover before I started writing, and that really helped put me in the headspace of what the series was going to be like. And then as we've gone, it's been a conversation between me and my editor, and I've got to be, we brainstorm what the next book's going to be, who the next couple is going to be. Um, so that's been like a team effort, but definitely the covers. I mean, the cover artist, Kelly, is amazing. I mean, the covers, people they just want it like on their shelf. And I'm just trying to live up to like the beauty of the covers with the story inside. So yeah, I think they just really hit on the fact that people do like to do a Gilmore Girls rewatch every fall. People love fall. Like I cannot understate how like how much that has been huge. the people on social media, they just want that beautiful book on their fall shelf. So,
So you've mentioned that you do a lot of kind of like brainstorming and stuff with the team, and that they
mhm,
asked you to write this. So how did your writing process change from writing all your stuff as an indie author to how you write now?
mhm. I've always liked an assignment. I was good at doing homework in school. So it turns out, I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it, but it turns out I love writing this way. I love that they're like, hey, do you want to do this? And I'm like, yes, I do. So it's been great. I love that I have someone to bounce ideas off of. We talk about, yeah, just what we want, like what tropes are we going to hit? And like I said, who's going to be next in the series? So it's been fun. I like having other people to talk with about all of these choices that we're making. So I'm loving it. Like I said, I like having guidance. So,
Aside from Grumpy Sunshine, what
yeah.
are your favorite kind of either big macro level tropes in Cozy or like some of the smaller things that get put in, like mini tropes, if for want of a better word? Like, do
Mm.
you have like, I don't know, like talking cats or something? I don't know. Like, there's always something cute like that, right? There's always a dog or a cat or something. I don't know.
Yes. There's a lot of animals in these books that just sort of started happening. There's a cat on that first cover and it just kind of like escalated from there. So yes, there are always animals around. Um, I love forced proximity. Like they need to be together the whole time. Like do not give me chapters where they're like off doing other things. Like I want those two people like pressed up against each other a lot. So anything that keeps them together, I like. Um, So the Christmas book, that's book 3 that just came out, has one of like my all-time favorite microtropes where his whole like goal in life is to keep her warm. Like as a perpetually cold person, I like I really love this. So his whole job is like he's just obsessed with keeping her warm through that whole book. Um, so I like that. Any kind
Oh.
of acts of service as like a love language, I think just fits like perfectly into cozy. Um, yeah, just doing sweet, kind things for each other, I think works well in these.
In this kind of day and age of like, for want of a better word, like saturation, like there
Mm,
are books for everything for everybody.
yeah.
What do you think are the reader expectations from a cozy? Like, or
Hmm.
not just a cozy, but a cozy romance.
Yeah. I think people, or at least I do, want good characters. Um, like I said, these books are not plot driven. They're not on a quest or it's not even that tension of any enemies to lovers kind of thing. It's like you just want people that are interesting on the page. I know that for me anyway, like if it's a good character, I'll watch them do anything. So, it's like if I like this person, yeah, we'll just hang out or go to the coffee shop, and that's fine. So I think that's a piece of it. I think people they they want low angst from these books. They don't want a huge dramatic breakup, even if they know they're gonna get back together in the end. Um, yeah, banter. I think just setting the scene, they want to feel like they're in the town or they're in the bookshop and it's sunny and it smells like cinnamon buns and they want to feel like they're there. So I think definitely setting all that kind of sensory stuff up.
So,
Yeah, and
okay, so you mentioned that you don't really like marketing. Am I right in assuming you are not on TikTok as an author?
that is correct. I
Okay.
am not there.
And yet your book blew on TikTok. So how do you think social media is kind of changing the landscape of reading, the market, books? Like, how do you think it's changing things?
Yeah. I think it's really amazing and cool that people are talking about books just at all in general. I mean, books are cool now, which is, I think, cool. I don't for lack of a better word, but I think just having a place where readers are talking about books and excited about books and sharing books, is pretty great. And I think it's at least reasonably authentic and organic. I mean, I know there's always issues with the algorithm and who's being shown what and all that sort of thing, but I think in general, it's not really something you can force or make happen. So having people talk about my book on TikTok is amazing. I mean, it at least feels like, um, yeah, it feels, I don't want to say partially like luck, but just like we hit this like lightning in a bottle kind of moment. So, yeah. And I also think, as far as romance goes, that TikTok is making it okay to say that you read romance. I think it used to be sort of like taboo, or people were just kind of embarrassed and didn't want to say that they did. And now it's okay. Everybody does it.
How do you personally cope with, I guess, like the increase in attention? Because the books are everywhere. Um, has that like provided any personal challenges, like boundary challenges for you? Like, have you, you are like, you come across as such a smiley, positive person, and like social media can really be that. And then there are moments of toxicity. So I just wondered like whether you've had to cope with that, or how do you cope with it?
Yeah. That's partially why I'm not on TikTok. Just so I'm not actually seeing everything. Things are filtered for me so that I only see the nice things that people have to say. Um, I am on Instagram though, so I do see things. It is tricky because now that the book is everywhere, like I'm not looking for bad reviews, but I will see them. They do come across. And obviously, not everyone's going to like my books. I know that intellectually, but it's always hard to see. No one likes to see that. So yeah, just getting better at scrolling on by when I see things that maybe aren't whatever positive about the books. And then just, yeah, I have had to just convince myself that I can't read every DM that I get, and I can't say yes to every request that I get because I want to. Like, I want to respond to every reader's comments. I want to be able to, send them a signed book, but I don't have, a stash of signed books in my house, and I just can't do that. So things like that, where I've had to be okay with saying no or just not being able to get to all of it. Was a little tricky at first. My editor had to be like, send them my way. Like, stop. You do not have to respond to every single person. So yeah, I'm just kind of doing that. I mean, I haven't done many in-person things yet, so it's really all been online and just watching that like follower count go up on Instagram and be kind of like, oh my God, like people are looking at me. Just kind of wild.
Oh, I love it. I also got to I mean on a very different scale, but I got to the point this year where I couldn't reply to all the DMs anymore. The
Yeah.
comments. Like I have a social media manager, and even my social media manager has gone, "This is wild." I was like,
Yes.
I know. Like it because I felt like a big responsibility, like I was letting people down by not replying, but actually I'm letting people down if I don't write the next book.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's the other reason why I'm not on TikTok, because if I had another place to scroll, like how
Yeah.
would these books get written? So,
Yes, I have to be super. TikTok is kind of is what has blown my books up. So I
yes.
am on TikTok, but I am like so disciplined about my usage. It
Yes.
is painful because I would love to scroll a bit more than I do.
Yeah.
Okay, so like last question before the ultimate podcast question.
Mm.
Do you, so you mentioned that this is what you read as well.
Yes.
So do
Mhm.
you kind of see any newer writers making mistakes when they approach cozy? Like, is there anything that you kind of see as a bit of a this isn't going to fit kind of the market or the reader expectations or anything like that? What kind of mistakes are you seeing newer to cozy writers making?
No, if I can think of any specific mistakes, I would just say kind of like what I was saying earlier, but what's hard for me is that line between low stakes, but still having conflict to keep the story moving. And I think sometimes cozy can go too far in the direction of really nothing is happening at all. Um, so yeah, I would say you still need something. There still needs to be a reason why the characters are not together from page one. They still have to be sorting through something internally that is keeping them apart at the moment. Um, some kind of conflict. I still like a third act breakup, controversial, but I put them in there. So I think even if it's cozy, even if it's sweet, still has to be conflict. It still has to be a story. So something has to move it forward. Um, so yeah, I would say, I guess that would be my advice. And also put spicy scenes in. People like it.
I love it. Definitely put it in.
Yeah,
Amazing.
put it in.
Well, this is the Rebel Author Podcast. So tell everyone about a time you unleashed your inner rebel.
Well, I am probably one of the least rebellious people. I have very strong oldest daughter tendencies. I already mentioned I like homework. I mean, really, I like my gold star. It's bad. So I was racking my brain about a rebellious time. Um, the only thing I could really think of, and really just thinking rebellious as kind of like what's maybe unexpected about me or what people that know me are surprised about or that used to, that I grew up with are surprised about is the fact that I do think and write about sex a lot. It's what I spend a lot of my time doing. And I write explicit sex scenes. And I think when people started to catch wind of that knew me in real life were kind of like, oh, wow, what is we weren't expecting. So I don't know. I guess maybe that's my one little bit of rebellion.
A little dark horse streak. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, what is next for Dream Harbor? And tell everyone where they can find out more about you, your books, and anything else you want to add.
So Dream Harbor has book 4 is coming out in March. It's the Strawberry Patch Pancake House. It's got a grumpy chef and he's a single dad and hijinks happen with the nanny. And then book 5, I think, is coming out next cozy season, and it is going to be Annie and Mac's book, which a lot of people have been asking about. Annie is getting a book. And then there will be a 6th book at some point. So there are slated to be 6. And we'll see what happens after that. My website is thelorigilmore.com. And I'm mostly on Instagram at @LoriGilmore_author and also at Melissa McTernan on Instagram.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time today. And of course, a giant thank you to all of the show's listeners and all of the show's patrons. You can get early access to all of the episodes if you visit patreon.com/Sasha Black. I'm Sasha Black. You were listening to Laurie Gilmore, and this was the Rebel Author Podcast. Next week, I'm talking to Heather Farris all about using Pinterest for your author business. Don't forget to tune in and subscribe on your podcatcher. And when you have a moment, please leave a review.